Hello everyone, welcome back to Ruby Lessons in Code Academy. So in the last topic we covered objects, kind of, in a way, mainly with blocks, procs and lambdas. Today we are going to be talking about object-oriented programming, and this is going to be the first section. So, introduction to classes, kind of similar to objects. I am going to say that this is slightly more advanced, so objects are kind of the highest point of programming, I guess you could say. They're really interesting. We are 78% done with the course, which is why this is more advanced. If you have any questions, again, do feel free to ask in the comments down below. I will be as helpful as possible. But if you don't get your head around it, I would recommend to rewatch the video again. Again, do feel free to ask comments in the comment section down below. But now that I have given you this warning, let's get started, because even though it's really difficult, once you get into it, it's really fun to do. Objects. So, Ruby is an object-oriented programming language, which means it manipulates programming constructs called objects. Many, I'm pretty sure a lot, maybe even like most programming languages are object-oriented. I know that C++ is, pretty sure C# is, Python has objects. So yeah, just Google object-oriented programming languages and you will come up with loads of results. Which means it manipulates programming constructs called objects. So almost everything in Ruby is an object. You've been using them all along, so they should be very familiar. Objects have methods, which you've seen before, and attributes, which are just data. For instance, in maths, a string, .length, you get 4. So the maths object, the string is an object, is a string with a length method and a length attribute of 4. So we'll learn how to build our own objects with their own methods and internal variables in the next few exercises. So what objects are? Well, the way you can make your own, how to describe it. So an object is basically making your own variable type. There is a string variable type. You can make your own string, I guess, if you wanted to. That's the best way I can describe it. It's making your own variable type. That's what an object is. But what exactly makes maths a string? The fact that it's an instance of the string class. So a class is just a way of organizing and producing objects with similar attributes and methods. So maths is a string because it's in the string class. You can make your own class called sheep. And something is going to be a sheep if it's in that instantiated, which we'll learn later on. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Yeah, instantiated under that class. Maths is instantiated under the string class. Our sheep variable would be instantiated under the sheep class. So, okay, that's slightly more mind-boggling. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, let's read on. So instructions, check out the code in the editor to the right. We've defined our own class, language, and created Ruby, Python, and JavaScript instances. Click Save and Submit Code to see how they work. So, classes don't have to be that advanced. They can just be using just one attribute and one method. The method, as you can see, in the string case, is length. It can be, what else is there? I can't think of any other things for maths. Oh, add. The plus, that's also a different kind of method. Okay. When you're ready, click Save and Submit Code to get started with classes and objects of your own. So let's just see how the code works. We have created this class called language. We have defined, so this is a method, which is initialized. So this is the initializer. It's how it gets created. @name equals name. So you're giving it a name, and then creator equals creator. So this gives it its basic attributes. Then we have another method inside it, which is again defined and puts, when you call this method on a specific object. So if you call it in Ruby, for example, I'm Ruby and I was created by creator. So let's see what happens if we do this. I'm Ruby and I was created by Yukihiro Matsumoto. Sorry if I cannot pronounce these, they're quite difficult. And yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You create your own variable type which contains its own attributes, and so these are the attributes in this case. This is the initializer. We'll get onto that later on. And this is a method inside the function. So this is equivalent to length in string. Let's just go with that. So moving on. Don't worry if you didn't understand that too much, because I was just trying to give you an overview of what classes are. Obviously, the Ruby lessons are going to be more advanced, but slowly advancing. Hopefully, anyway. If they don't, I'm going to slow it down and give better explanations. So basic class consists of only of the class keyword and the name of the class. Check it out. So you have class, new class, end. Quite similar to how you would define a method, as you can see, but it does differently. It works differently. So you have class, the class keyword instead of the define keyword, and then you give it a name, and same as in many other cases. So our new class has the ability to create new Ruby objects of class new class. Just like hello is a string and for is a fixed num. By convention, class names start with a capital letter and use camel case instead of relying on underscores. I don't know why they have written it like that, but oh well, doesn't matter. Instructions create a class called person in the editor. So class person. Don't put anything between class person and end just yet. So we could put a comment in here to just say something like this, but seeing as they're telling us not to put anything, I'm not going to put anything and just move on. Classing it up. Okay, fair enough. We'd like our classes to do more than, well, nothing. So we'll have to add some code between our class person and end. So you may have noticed in our example back in the first exercise that we started our class definition off with a method called initialize. So you can think of initialize as the function that boots up each object that the class creates, because if you don't do that, then if you don't turn on your computer, it doesn't know how to work. Let's just put it that way. That's quite a good way of comparing this. So instructions, go ahead and define an initialize method. Def initialize. Hopefully I spelled that correctly. Yep, I actually did for once. Good. And no need to put anything in the method body just yet. Okay, fair enough. So this is our initializer. Without anything inside it, of course, yet. Alright, just one more step before we can create a person from our person class. We have to make sure each person has a name, because otherwise what's the point? In Ruby we use @ before a variable to signify that it's an instance variable. This means that the variable is attached to the instance for the class. So for example, if you have, as it said, Mats, and we have my name, I mean, that isn't my name, but just as an example because they were using it. The instance my name of the string, it has the Mats variable, and if you do Mats, it has a specific string. It has the string Mats. If you had another string, so let's do my other name, that again has, well, let's do something else, and you called on Mats give me string method for whatever reason. I don't think that that's an actual method, but let's imagine it is, and it should give you the string. Here you would get Mats, and here you would get SDF, SDFWE. If you called that method on this, you wouldn't get Mats, which is why it's called an instance variable. It's only attached to that specific instance. So for example, class car. We have created a class of a car class. When we do kit is a new instance of the class car. I'm gonna give it the attributes of the make Pontiac and the model Trans Am. So this creates an instance kit of the class car. Kit has its own name, its own make, Pontiac, and its own model, Trans Am. Those variables belong to the kit instance only, nothing else. So if you had another car instance called something other than kit, then it's not going to get these by calling these attributes. It's going to get whatever attributes you gave it. If you gave it the same attributes, then fair enough, but it's still calling it in a different memory location. If you had another car. So if you had not kit, but you had I don't know that, these would be stored in another memory location. We'll cover other kinds of variables like those attached to entire classes in the next few exercises. Also, just an interesting thing, you can store classes or instances of your own classes in lists or arrays. I thought that was quite interesting to add on. So give your initialize method a single parameter name. In the body of your method, set name equals name or at name equals name. So what this does is it takes in the first argument, if you will, from whatever we initialize our person with, and sets that to be the class's attribute for name. This tells Ruby that whenever it creates a person, it has to have a name, and each instance of person will have its own name. If it doesn't have a name, if you don't pass it this argument, then it's going to give you an error. Your code doesn't look quite right. Check the hint if you need help. That's weird. Okay. Oh, initialize right. I need to actually give this variable. There we go. Because otherwise it wouldn't actually take it in. So, moving on. Instantiating your first object. So, making it. You'll see what I mean. I can't really explain it that well. In words anyway. Perfect, now we're ready to start creating objects. We can create an instance of a class just by calling .new on the class name, like so. So me, that's our variable name, equals, quite obvious, you do, if you wanted to make a new variable, you do something equals something. And then it's slightly different than just doing a string. You have to actually specify which class you're calling. So you would do something like person.new. As you can see, it's quite similar to the proc.new, because they're both objects. And then you give it what it's expecting to get. It's expecting a name. So let's give it my name. Instructions, create a variable mats and set it, okay, sure. And set it equal to calling .new on your person. Pass.new the name Yukihiro, sorry, as its only argument. Fair enough. If we were to pass more arguments, then it should give us an error. There we go. That works. Now, if we were to do something like puts mats, let's see what happens. I don't know how Ruby does this. So it gives us a memory location, because we haven't defined what it does by default when you do something like this. So if you had a string equals something like this, this string has a method that is like default, let's call it, of what it does when you do puts a string. But we haven't defined that default. That will come later on. I'm just giving you a taster of what we can do with object programming, object-oriented programming. It's just a lot of fun, as I said before. But yeah, that is it for today's lesson. I hope you can digest this. Hopefully you can understand it quite well. Rewatch the video if you need to. Ask questions in the comments down below. I'm sure either I or somebody else in the comments will answer your questions. But yeah, other than that, if you enjoyed this video, then please give me a thumbs up, share and subscribe. And thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.